Robotit nousevat seuraavaksi keskiöön. Robotit eivät ehkä kävele vielä joukossamme, mutta ne tekevät jo päätöksiä puolestamme. Tämä tiimi selvittää, minkälaisia moraaliin liittyviä odotuksia ihmisillä on roboteille. Robottien moraalipsykologiaa koskeva tieteenala on täysin uusi, vaikka yhteiskuntamme jo kamppailee aiheeseen liittyvien kysymysten kanssa. Kenen syy esimerkiksi on, jos hoivarobotti antaa vahingossa tappavan annoksen lääkettä? Onko syy robotin, sairaalan vai kenties yrityksen, joka valmistaa robotteja? Tervetuloa lavalle Michael Laakasua ja Moralities of Intelligent Machines.
Think of the future. In my vision, our planet is lush, healthy and green, and there are big, beautiful spaceships orbiting around it. And we as humanity can communicate with its bio and geospheres through our intelligent technologies. Humanity has achieved peace, and there are trained AIs floating in space, measuring planet's magnetic field and communicating with surface robots taking measurements of seismic activity in order to warn us about possible future earthquakes. Drones and other forestry robots are constantly integrating and analyzing information regarding the gas and microbial compositions of our soil, rivers, swamps, and lakes in order to prepare us for the upcoming food production cycle. We are able to react to the needs of the biosphere by planting trees in one area or opening up rivers in another. I just hope we're not late in realizing this vision. Suddenly, we've been moving into a new era of intelligent machines, along with its problems, which are now only dawning on us. These machines, or mind children, as Hans Moravec called them, are slowly taking over our basic household tasks, transportation, law enforcement, military, and medical treatment queues. All this is happening without much consideration given to human moral emotions, meaning that we don't know how we'd like these machines to behave and act during difficult moments. Think of a nursing robot that has to give medications to a non-cooperative patient. Human nurses have the right to force medications on their patients, but how about robots? Or think of a self-driving car full of passengers that has to decide whether to drive over a child that suddenly rushed in front of it. Driving over the child would mean breaking the traffic laws and driving into a ditch. But if robots are allowed to break laws in one situation, then why not all the time? This is a democratic concern, a matter of public debate and discussion. And it matters how we feel about these machines and their decisions regarding our well-being. Yet there is no legislation guiding the implementation of robot morality. If we want these machines to have human-friendly morality, we need to incorporate understanding of human emotions into the legislative process. This is not science fiction, and let me repeat that, this is not science fiction. 8 years ago, a confused military robot killed 9 people. Recently, a factory robot in Germany killed a worker. And a similar thing happened in India a couple of weeks later. Top of the hierarchy either denies the problem or blames the victims. But a careful reading of the situation suggests it's much more complicated than that. Nature, the most important science journal on the planet, published an article stating that developing moral faculties for robots is the thorniest issue in AI. At the same time, alarmed scientists and big names in the industry are urging a ban on the development of military robots. EU Science Commissioner Carlos Moedas told us that he was shocked to hear from his own people that there's nobody who's doing anything about this issue. By 2020, there will be 100 million robots on this planet, and they will be working in virtually every field relevant for our daily lives. Autonomous intelligent machines are already being implemented in law enforcement and transportation. There are visions of substituting teachers with robots, and they are already populating our elderly care and nursing homes. All this has been happening before we've even had a proper discussion or research about these matters from a moral psychological perspective. And this is not a trivial issue, since these machines will be functioning in every continent and even in the most remote rural areas of this planet. And we know this because agricultural robots are developed here in Finland at Aalto University. Robotics market will be similar in its rapid development to the mobile phones industry of the previous 2 decades. It will be worth hundreds of billions in revenue. So despite these complications, several pieces of our solution are already visible. And I'm going to tell you about 3 different steps or 3 different phases in our solution. Number 1 is that we need to understand the problem. So this means we need to collect data, analyze it, discuss it, and publish it. With a single word, we need research. We are going to use all the standard methods from qualitative sociology to experimental cognitive science. And this means that we're going to build internet questionnaires, computerized lab experiments, recruit participants, and conduct in-depth interviews. Of course, we also need to make sense of the data, and for this we will use all the analytical tools there are, whether qualitative or statistical. We also need new tools and methods which are up to speed with the present-day requirements of science. We're working with the virtual reality industry to create realistic 3D environments where people can make decisions with robots in current or future scenarios. Once we have mapped out the limits and the parameters of robot ethics, those will be used by the industry as well. We will help to create tools for the development of ethical machines. The important part of the first phase of our solution is to create a new academic field, moral psychology of robotics, which provides urgently needed data for the legislators and the industry. One would think that such a field already exists, but if you Google, in quotes, moral psychology of robotics, only our competition entry to Helsinki Challenge comes up. Thank you. But of course, creating a field like this one isn't enough by itself. We need to raise awareness, participate in public discussions, and influence policies and legislators. As a part of the process of taking part in Helsinki Challenge, we've given a university course, several TV, radio, and magazine interviews. We've participated in public discussions or public debates with the world's leading scientists. We've participated in conferences and other events, and we've formed official ties with Finnish robotics industry, as well as the Finnish virtual reality industry, and with research teams in Denmark and in Sweden, which leads us to the second phase of our solution. We will create a social platform where people can debate and discuss robot morality. The front page of the social platform will have a robotiquette, which is the current consensus view on robot morality. The front page will be constantly updated and will be built upon a wiki-like discussion environment where people can provide arguments and links, exchange information, and participate in open debates around the issue. And people from all levels of society can participate. We will have further embedded in the social platform the actual computer code translation of the robotiquette, which means, in essence, that we will have open source morality. In the future, we will live in a world where we will have a UN mandate forcing all robots to comply to a moral code written by the people, for the people. As a third step of our solution, we will introduce the idea of ethical robotics stamp, which will be awarded to any machine passing certain quality estimation procedures. We've already met with the Prime Minister's office and some Finnish MPs, and we have others waiting. And we have suggested that Finland should implement a new law, which in the beginning could be just a single sentence. For example, all future robots must comply with the Finnish constitution. The political process could fill in the rest. But from such simple beginning, we would ensure that Finland is included among the forerunners for the future. Once the design for government model is implemented for Finland, we can export it to culturally similar countries like Estonia and Sweden, eventually bringing robot ethics to the level of whole EU. We are already working towards these goals, together with Finnish foundations and NGOs. We are creating something called the Robot Academy, which will be a series of public discussion events starting from early 2016, where experts in the field of robotics come together to discuss and debate with scholars from human sciences about issues related to moral psychology and politics of robotics. This will surely raise awareness on the issue. So, to recap, the 3 steps of our solution are: number 1, create a new academic field of moral psychology of robotics. Number 2, introduce the concept of robotic or open source morality. And number 3, introduce the ethics included stamp into robotics. We are already living in a world where robots will become a permanent part of our daily lives. We know from history that technological development is like Pandora's box torn open. Once the genie is out of the bottle, you cannot put it back in again. And we further know from economic history that if there's chance to make money, the powers that be will do everything they can to benefit from current affairs. These machines and their code is being developed by companies like Google, who just bought Boston Dynamics, the biggest military robotics company in the world. The single biggest funder for creation of artificial ethics is the United States Navy. Yet there is no law which would require US military or Google to make their programming open source. Robot morality is being developed on a priori basis by a small number of technocrats behind closed doors. Parallels with the movie Terminator are there for everybody to see. The way our team sees this is that we're now at crossroads. We're wise enough to see into the future. We can clearly see the problems, and we can clearly see how to defend ourselves against those problems. We should be wise about this and use all the tools in our possession to create a kind of robotization for us and the world, which is for the good of all living beings. We are Moralities of Intelligent Machines. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your time.